Sunday. I normally don't go live on Sunday. May start doing it more often, but here's the thing. I got a question the other day, and then I got some texts in the middle of the night. You guys, I love getting texts from people who want to know, from people who really want to understand their health. I'm not saying that I'm a doctor, but I'm just a real world woman who figured out a way to fix her insulin resistance, to lose weight, to get rid of inflammation and all the things. And so I share that information with you guys. It takes me a lot of time. I spend hours a day doing research, looking up stuff. And so let's get to her comment and her questions. So there's a lot of information out there about insulin resistance, what causes it, what's going to fix it. And I just talked to somebody else the other day who said, that it's an iron binding deficiency problem. And all of these things can combine. But what I want to tell you is what I've learned is that I lean into a guy called Dr. Ben Bickman. I don't have his book. He wrote the book, Why We Get Sick. Now, why do I lean into him and why have I held onto him so tightly? Mostly because he studies fat cells in a petri dish every single day. He's always looking for why are we having these metabolic issues? How is it affecting us? What's going on with it? What causes more of the insulin in our system? What causes decreases in it? He's actually on the front lines doing the study. So I lean into what he says, and that's what I'm bringing to you guys is stuff that's more in line with him. There are a lot of other people out there who talk about insulin resistance, who talk about weight loss, who talk about a number of health issues, and they'll go off on a number of other things. So look, high cortisol levels, inflammation, anxiety, yes, they can all cause insulin resistance. There's a number of things that can, but at the bottom line, what's really happening is we're getting too much energy to our bloodstream, and that's causing a spike in insulin. Now, I've even heard somebody say that and I haven't looked into this one yet fully, but they're saying that the 1 teaspoon of sugar in your blood doesn't really matter. That's a false thing. Then why is it that when we get more than that in our blood, our insulin spikes? And that starts this whole cascade of problems. So we're really here. The question was predominantly for them about saturated fats. And I had another question about saturated fats. And they both leaned into and said, and this is the only time I'm going to mention these two in this live, because I am not the one to go out and bully other people and to say things. I will refer to them later in this, but I'm not ever going to name them. But the people asked me specifically about Mastering Diabetes and Dr. Ids, and they say this, they say that. So I dove in, looked for the research, looked for, what supports them, what negates them, whatever. So here we go. With saturated fats, you'll see two camps. One like me that says saturated fats are good for you and that seed oils are bad, and the other one says seed oils are great for you and saturated fats are bad. Now, my first response to that is, before I even look at the science, when I got rid of all the seed oils in my house, when I only have olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, butter, and coconut oil in my house, and that's all I cook with, my cholesterol problems resolved. My gut health started getting better. My skin started getting better. My metabolism got better. Now, if I go out someplace and I get food that's been cooked in seed oils, I will know it immediately because I'll start having gastritis. I'll start having inflammation throughout my body. I can't sleep at night. I'll have all those other things. So if saturated fats are so bad and seed oils are so good, from a person who got the seed oils out of her life and switched to saturated fats, why is it that I feel so much better with the saturated fats and I have no seed oils? In fact, it's been so much so now, you guys, that I've learned that even when I buy foods, like we buy treats every once in a while, I no longer buy cookies or anything from the market because they're high in those seed oils and high in the things that make me sick. So I cook at home. I don't have the same gastritis and whatnot with the foods I cook at home, and make sure that I don't put seed oils in it as opposed to the ones that do. So let's talk, since I'm off track already, let's talk about that. Why we say that seed oils, and science says that seed oils is causing insulin resistance, is this. They're an omega-6, but they're high in something called linoleic acids. I'm good. So thanks for asking, Jerry. So when you have these seed oils that are high in omega-6s and high in linoleic acids, what that really means is it starts causing inflammation in your body. Remember at the beginning of this, I said that inflammation is one of the things that causes insulin resistance. So it's causing a damage to your insulin receptors, and it's causing inflammation that's making you more insulin resistant. So Saturated fats don't act like that. Saturated fats are actually supporting your body, especially in tandem with a high protein diet. Now, I don't care what you look at online, you're going to find some people that say one thing and some people that say another. So, what I encourage everyone is to find what fits for you. If what I'm telling you doesn't fit for you, go do what does. But if you're interested, hey, Penny, if you're interested in what I have to say and you're like, oh, you know what? I've suffered with those things too. This makes sense to me. Then listen and take what knowledge you can from it. Okay. That's all I'm here for. So let's get back to the saturated fats. I'm going to refer to my notes because you guys, and I get really excited about this one, you guys, because it really pisses me off when people start doing this whole damaging thing. Like, and one thing is, the one person that I mentioned at the front at this that has a doctor in front of his name that kind of disagrees with everything I says. It says seed oils are good, soda pop is good, aspartame is good, all of these things. There was a recent lawsuit out for them from the FDA because they weren't disclosing that they had financial ties to the food industry. I'm going to let you sink in with that one. And then we're going to talk about the meta-analysis that they always rely on. So here's the thing. It's meta-analyses are like garbage in, garbage out. A meta-analysis only as good as the studies it includes. So if a majority of the studies included are from big food or big pharma, and they're low quality and they're biased or they're industry funded, the conclusions will be flawed and they will be directed towards what they want you to feel like that they want to tell you. I have a person on my team who actually was one of the clearinghouses for some of these studies, and she said they would get 20 studies in, and maybe 18 of them said that this food was horrible for you, but 2 of them said that maybe it's not so bad. You know what got published? The 2 that said it wasn't so bad. So are the meta-analysis that keep getting presented as, oh, this is the end-all be-all for this information, are they something that you should 100% rely on? No. Understand that behind a lot of those analysis, just like my company does science for our products, so you could say our company science is slanted too. I get that. But what they're doing is they're cherry picking data in those meta-analysis that select what studies they want to include. And if that includes studies that are actually going against the mainstream, doesn't matter. There's a meta-analysis that says it's good. So just relying on meta-analysis isn't a great way to back up what you're saying. Now, I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to go into all of that stuff. I just want you guys to have some understanding of what's happening. Just like organic foods, they only have to be 15 or 20%, if that much more organic than the food sitting next to them to be called organic. It's a small change that they have to make. You guys, we're being lied to in so many ways, and we just need to understand that. Okay. So that what I found is that the way that those meta-analyses can be used to misinform people, and boy, they have a big platform, right? And people are like, oh, but he's got all this meta data, he's got all this stuff. Well, that person presents industry-funded meta-analysis as the ultimate proof that these processed foods, these seed oils and artificial sweeteners and sodas are harmless to you. He dismisses high-quality independent studies that contradict his narrative, and he ignores the mechanism-based science on like how seed oils drive oxidative stress and causes insulin resistance over time in favor of short biomarkers and studies that prove what he's trying to say, because he's getting paid by people who are telling him to go out and tell people that all this stuff isn't bad. Because, oh my God, if everybody ditches seed oils, we're going to lose money, right? Whew, calm down, Misha. So the other big thing is this. Let's go back to saturated fats, okay? When we look at saturated fats, I've always said that I've not really advocated for a super high diet in saturated fats. But the truth is, most of us are getting in too much omega-6 seed oils, which is causing inflammation and it's causing an imbalance. The balance to the omega-6s are omega-3s. And guess where the omega-3s come in some of those seed oils that I talk about. So now it's balancing things back out. These same people will tell you that the gut microbiome is a bunch of BS and it doesn't matter. How many of you guys believe that there's no gut microbiome and that if your gut microbiome is sick, it doesn't affect you? Why is it that there are so many studies out there that show that an inflamed gut from an imbalanced gut microbiome leads into things like autoimmune diseases? In fact, autoimmune disease specialists, endocrinologists, and allergy people are starting to say that inflammation is one of the biggest drivers towards autoimmune disease, and it all starts in the gut. So I hope you can see that how some people out there are trying to confuse you, and maybe they're well-meaning. Some of them, I think, like the one company that goes against what Dr. Bickman says, I think they're well-meaning, The other one, I think they're just being paid to say what they say, and that's how they make their money. And so, but you're the one who's paying the price at the end of it. So, saturated fats. It's true that saturated fats can cause more insulin resistance in this instance. If you're eating a high carbohydrate diet and you add high fats to it, now you have a problem. If you lower the carbohydrate intake, especially from those bag box barcoded foods, up your protein and up the saturated fats, you're becoming more insulin sensitive. So what they're doing is they're not giving you the whole picture. They're not telling you that it's the high saturated fats in combination with high sugars that's causing the problem. And why is that causing the problem? Because if you have high sugars, now your cells are already overloaded and you're already driving your body to use insulin and glucose as its primary source of fuel every day. And so the fat you eat never gets used as an energy source because your body can never switch over to it. So now it's getting stored, you're getting fatter. And by the way, the more fat cells you put on, the more insulin resistance you do get. But if you take away a lot of those carbohydrates, start focusing on fats and proteins, the fats I'm telling you about, your insulin receptors get more sensitive. Your body learns to switch between times of eating carbohydrates and times of eating fat. And the times that you're eating fat, it spurns you to burn more fat for fuel. Saturated fats do that, not when you're already overloaded with glucose. So there's some truth in that, right? There's some truth that saturated fats can make you more insulin resistant because you're eating it with a diet high in carbohydrates. Drop the carbohydrate load, up the healthy fat load, and you'll start to feel better. Okay. Now, mastering diabetes is also very highly vegetarian, vegan. They don't believe in red meats and all that. So there's a lot of differing information on that. So Dr. Bickman, Dr. Hyman, a number of people have started to point out that this whole negativity towards red meats is really bunk. When you're eating so much carbohydrates, that's what's really causing the inflammation. And guess what? A vegan diet is high in carbohydrates. So if you're eating all of your food sourced from carbohydrates, which vegetables and fruits are, then remember you can't have as many saturated fats. So if you're a vegan, it may be true that saturated fats, you might want to slow down on them, not have as many of them, okay? Because your body is learning to eat sugar when it's eating vegetables and fruits, because that's what they are. When you start to switch to having more protein, then there's a difference. You need more fats to support the protein that are feeding your muscles and encapsulating them and giving them structure and all of that. Okay, so I know it gets confusing. I'm not on here for long today. I just kind of want to dispel some of these myths. I'm trying to think of some of the other questions I had that I wanted to address. I'll be doing some short videos later, but today is my family day. I'm going to go spend time. We play a lovely game during the day that I get to connect with my daughter back in Washington State, even though I'm in Kentucky, and we have our family time virtually while we play some pretty cool games. So we're going to go do that in a little bit. But I just wanted to hop on and talk about this whole saturated fat issue. Does anybody have questions so far? Yeah, I get really inflamed about it. So it's true. I do sell a system I call the protocol, and it's two drinks that I have in a day, 2 teas, and a pre-meal drink that I have before I eat. That's my fiber component. I did a big talk on fiber on Friday, or the system on Friday. So here's the thing. I'm going to go back to this. I trust Dr. Bickman and the information that he gives me and the people who align with him, because maybe he's not in a clinic, prescribing to people, but he's working with doctors who are, and he's doing the pre-work. He's looking at those fat cells. He's looking at asking the questions. What's causing this? What's causing that? How does this react? How does that react? What are the studies that are showing this affects our health in different ways? That's the guy I lean into for my information. The guy who does it day in, day out, does the study day in, day out for his research and helping us get better. Now, so the protocol is this. We do that tea in the morning, which I have mine here right now. I'll be drinking the rest of it this afternoon. And then when I go have dinner with my family, pasta is as a Sunday thing for my daughter-in-law, so I'll be having this. I may have 2 of these pre-meal drink. Then the fiber in that drink helps reduce a glucose spike. Okay. I get to enjoy my family. I have energy. I have mental clarity from the tea. I have the fiber that works to keep my blood sugars down. Now, One other interesting thing is with the guys who work with mastering diabetes, they have a plant-based diet. They said they were able to get their A1C down to 6.4 doing plant-based. And I love them. I think they have some great information. I am not downing them. I'm just saying they have a different opinion than Dr. Bickman, okay? They live a different life. But what I do know is with this protocol and eating a normal diet, having proteins, having fats, having carbs once in a while. I baked some yummy cookies yesterday. I'm going to take them to my family today. So I'm just going to double up on this stuff so that I don't have to worry about it and I can enjoy my time and not have to be so strict and be like, oh my God, my life is over. I can't ever have the foods I love. Mastering diabetes, 6.4. That's where I was at. So my A1C was up to 7.4 before starting the system. My A1C now runs at about 5.3. I eat red meat. I eat chicken. I eat saturated fats. I don't have to put away all the sugars. I try, I sometimes I have more than I should. Sometimes I don't have any at all. But I just eat a balanced diet that fits me. And I use the tools to fill in the nutrition where it needs to be filled in because our foods are imperfect and I'm healthier than I was 20 years ago. Okay. So it didn't require me going vegan. It didn't require me going carnivore. It didn't require all the stuff. I made some small changes, like ditching those seed oils that are causing inflammation. And in those of you who missed it, man, if I was to go out tonight and have Chick-fil-A, I would be up all night long sick, stomach pain, bloated stomach, inflammation throughout my body, my brain hurting, all of this stuff because those oils, plus all the other stuff they put in their food, is causing inflammation and sickness in my body. I can have similar foods and cook them in saturated fats and never get sick like that, even without a gallbladder. Okay. So please understand that. I will do some short videos this week on saturated fats and try and explain this more. I am going to address this question because this seems to be coming up a lot lately. I talked about my hypertension in a number of videos. You guys, this same system is what reversed my hypertension. My blood pressure was 180 over 150 every single day. And yes, in the middle of the night, and I've talked about it multiple times, in the middle of the night, my blood pressure would go up to like 240 over 160, 260 over 160. It was insane how high my blood pressure would go. At the time, I didn't understand. So let's talk about that too, because this is just about dispelling some myths today or helping you guys decide what you're going to lean into and work into your life, okay? You want to follow Mastering Diabetes, do that. And if you get better, yes, for you. If you don't, then maybe come back and listen to what I have to say. So that nighttime spike in insulin resistance or in your blood sugar. Does anybody else have a really high spike of blood pressure in the middle of the night? Like you wake up, your heart's racing, you can't get back to sleep. It's like you just had a nightmare and you can't go back to sleep and you're just like ready to go. Does anybody else experience that in the middle of the night? Okay, well, those of you who do, or those of you who have a spouse who do, I want to tell you what's happening. When you have a highly dysregulated metabolism, because it's so used to running on sugar all the time, it panics in the middle of the night. Your blood sugars drop. You're used to having a high blood sugar because you're eating carbohydrates. You're eating every 2 hours. You're eating all the time, and you're spiking your insulin and putting sugar into your body all the time. It can't regulate like it's supposed to. And then in that fasting period, when you should be able to burn fat, your body's waking up freaked out because there's no sugar in your bloodstream, raises your cortisol. And when you get raised cortisol, it's going to raise your blood sugar. So that point in the night when your blood pressure is really pumping, which happened to me multiple nights a week, and nobody ever explained to me why that was happening. It was because my blood sugar was so dysregulated that I was panicking in my sleep if my blood sugars dropped. I don't have that anymore. Not at all. I don't wake up in the night with my heart pounding. I don't wake up in the night, with all the things that I used to have to do. And my blood pressure is regularly 110 over 74 every single day. I'm not on any medications now. And all I did was believe that there's a gut microbiome and that it can work for or against you and that we need to feed it. So yes, I believe fiber is important. I believe that protein from meats is important. I believe that we need to eat more whole fruits and vegetables. I believe all of that. Okay. And when we do that, then we can start to get better. Okay, this is not about an extremist view. If you guys want to dive into an extremist view, go do that. But how many of you can tell me that today is going to be that day that you're all excited, you're going to save your health, you're going to do all these changes, and you're going to go dive into the extremists. You're going to go be vegetarian, you're going to go be vegan, you're going to go follow everything the medical medium says, or you're going to go strict carnivore like Jordan Peterson, and that you can tell yourself that in 5 years you're still going to be doing that perfectly. If you can do that, if you know that you can do that, go do that. But the truth is, for most of us, we're already under a lot of stress. We're already under a lot of BS from all day, every day, all the stuff that we're inundated with, our jobs, our families, all of this information coming in, and we just don't feel like we can sustain that. That's why I love this system. The system makes it all sustainable. Somebody else wrote me and said, well, I need to get rid of my diabetes. Can I do it without the system? Yeah, you can. The thing is you have to be much more structured. You have to have a mindset that says, I'm going to do this without fail, and then you can do it, hopefully, right? But one of the problems is that our food that we eat is just not the same as it used to be. So now Penny, thank you. I saw your input, and I wanted to stop. I didn't say thank you earlier. I want to say thank you. But our food is imperfect. We're not getting enough fiber in combination with our carbohydrates. So that what I'm talking about there is things like carrots, peas, corn, all of our fruits and vegetables. They have taken a lot of the fiber away. If a food is high, dense in fiber, it's not ever going to get as big as the foods we see today. We see these supersized foods, not just because they're pumped full of nutrients, but because they've been stripped of fiber that allows that food to grow bigger without the constraints of fiber. And nature put fiber in with those foods to help us regulate the blood sugars. And we should be getting a variety of them in. How many of you guys know, like I know, that I'm not getting in all the fruits and vegetables I should eat in a day? I'm not a big fruit and vegetable person. I love chicken, I love steak, I love that. I try to get in the vegetables because I know they're healthy for me, but I just am not getting in enough, right? If that's you, then that's where the system starts to come in, and it makes it so much easier. If you love Indian food, you eat that. If you love Mexican food, you eat that. If you like pasta like we're going to have today, you eat that. If you want to have a burger, you eat that. If you want to have a pizza, you eat that, but you don't do it all the time. They've taken all the fiber out of our food, right, Penny? So it's just like, this is one of my favorite visuals for you guys, if I can find my two tools here. So if you think about a peach is my favorite one. We'll talk about some other ones, but what you guys can do is go type in what our foods used to look like. Before I get to this, I'm going to say that one guy who wears the scrubs and the stethoscope to give weight to his channel, he was picking on the carnivore, the gal who does the carnivore diet. She was talking about how carrots were never orange, and she's right. They were a root. If you go look it up, they were a root. They were not really meant for us to eat in the way we eat them today, but they've been so modified and had the fiber stripped out and the glucose pumped up that we now have this crunchy but really sweet carrot that we love to eat, but they're not at all like what they used to be. Even when I was a kid, even though they were orange or they were different colors, they looked more like a root. They had all these offshoots. They never got as big and fat. We grew them on our farm at home, and we just never had carrots that looked the way they look today. How did they get that big? They stripped fiber out. They pumped up glucose, and in fruits, fructose. Okay, so now we're going to talk about peaches, because peaches, when I was a kid, were about this size. They were small. They were dense. We was really lucky if you found a one that was sweet and juicy, right? Now I go to the grocery store and I find a peach that's this size, okay? It's big. It's plump. It's juicy. It's soft. Sometimes they're crunchy, but they're very sweet, and people love them. But how did we go from this? Well, let's do this one that you can see. How did we go from this to this? With peaches, they stripped out the fiber. Okay, and we know this, that they stripped out the fiber, and that's how we have these big foods. So if we know that fiber is there to help slow down how much glucose hits your bloodstream, and we know that they're giving us a food that's not only high in glucose, but now has added fructose, because it's natural in fruits to have fructose, which can only be digested by your liver, contributing to non-alcoholic fatty liver, and you don't have the fiber that slows down those sugars from hitting your system, and it's just rushing into your system, your insulin's overworking, your liver's overworking, and you're getting sick. Okay. I did veganism or vegetarianism for a little over a year, and I failed to thrive. I felt sick all the time. I felt hungry all the time. I feel like my symptoms got worse. Some people can do it and they feel fine. So this is what I tell people all the time. I've also read books like Eat Right for Your Blood Type and Eat Right for Your Body Type and all this stuff. And I think there's some truth in all of these things. Like if you go back, I'm Native American. We grew up in the Great Lakes. I predominantly had red as a genetic history. I predominantly had red meats and cranberries. We didn't have a lot of fruits and vegetables. That's kind of how I eat today and thrive on it. If you grew up in a Mediterranean area where you had more abundance of some of these foods and you ate predominantly fish, you want to lean into that for you. If you lived in an area that was predominantly vegetarian and you guys thrived on that, then you need to lean into that. Just because one person does amazing on carnivore doesn't mean you're going to thrive on it. Just because one person does amazing on veganism doesn't mean you're going to thrive on that. Find the diet that is genetically right for you and follow that, and then make some adjustments to make sure that you're getting in what you need today. Tanya Lee, love you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the loves. You've learned about sweet potato. It's all in the way you cook it. But if you boil it, it brings the glycemic load way down versus baking or frying them. So, and I'm going to get this wrong because I haven't looked into potatoes much, but we all know that sweet potatoes are different than white potatoes, right? But do we know that they're really not from the same family? One is like a fruit and the other is a root. Okay. So the white potato, I think, is a root, and the sweet potato is more like a below ground fruit. So it's sweeter, but it does have more fiber. And so what you're saying is boil it, it brings the glycemic load. And I think that's true with white potatoes too. So if you boil it first and then cook it whatever way, it's going to break down the way that it breaks down in your food. Now, there's something I haven't talked about in a long time, and I want to say this. When I started this whole system, I was driving for Lyft and Uber every night, which means, and it was during the pandemic, you know, the one. And so every night, one of my meals had to come from one of the two places that was open if I was lucky, and that was McDonald's or Jack in the Box. I drove a really tiny car that was gas efficient so I could do all the work that I was doing at night, which meant I didn't have a lot of room for me to carry around food and stuff. Okay. So the other meal, when I started, I was like, "Oh, there's this smoothie place." And we all think that smoothies are going to do us great. We all love, they taste amazing. You want to do them. So I started doing smoothies for one of my meals a day, not knowing how damaging that was. Now, I still lost 55 pounds having a hamburger every night and a smoothie every day. Neither one of them really great for my system because I just added in the fibers I needed this way. Let's talk about smoothies and juices. Why I don't like juices is because the fiber that I've been talking about, they've been stripped from the fruits that are already low in fiber, and you just get the juice. Now, yes, you get some nutrients. So that's the big argument for them, right? They're packed with nutrients. But here's the problem. They're very high in fructose. So would you, and this is when I see people putting fruit juice in baby bottles or in sports drinks or whatever, you guys understand that what you're doing is you're eating a whole bunch of fruit in one sitting without the fiber to slow down the fructose. When you put that fruit juice in your baby's bottle, you might as well just put high fructose corn syrup in there, a little bit of water, and yeah, juice is sugar water, exactly that. So what's happening when you drink that, it's like rushing right to your liver because it's high in fructose. Okay. You're damaging your liver, you're spiking your insulin, and you're causing more of the problems. You don't have the fiber attached. Now, fruit or smoothies, especially, like, how many of you guys, because I used to do this all the time. I had trainers, I had people who told me to put a banana in my protein drink before I went to the gym, to eat before I went to the gym. So we're going to handle two other myths right now. Number one, banana is high glycemic. It's going to spike your blood sugar. Okay. People say to do it before you work out because you want the energy for your muscles, but I'm going to tell you something else. If you're eating good food all day, every day, When you go to the gym and you work out, and then you eat after. Wait a couple hours, an hour or so after you work out, and then start eating. What you've now done is you had muscles that are working, that are hungry, that are like, feed me. Now you put the sugar in, you put the banana in, you put the potato in, guess what? Instead of hanging around in your system, your muscles are going to eat that up and they're going to use it for energy. So why I talk about training fasted, and I did it all the time and achieved 4 world championships, because that's how your body works. And the first time I did what they call carb backloading, I was terrified. I'm like, I've been doing keto, I've been doing all this stuff. This is going to destroy everything I just did. But guess what? I lost even more weight when I added that, when I did a big heavy workout like leg day, squats, deadlifts, that kind of stuff. And then I waited about an hour and I could have a milkshake. I could have a potato. I could have a whatever. My blood sugars weren't spiking. My weight was going down. I was performing better. It's all in your metabolism, you guys. And we've jacked up our metabolisms. So we were talking about fruit juices because I was leading to this. Those smoothies, the smoothies you get at the gym, the smoothies that you get everywhere that they're saying are so great for you. What you're doing is you're taking that fruit now. Remember, it is already doesn't have enough fiber, and you're breaking down the fiber even further. And then you're putting it in a form that you drink. So guess what? When we masticate, when we eat, we're creating enzymes in our jaw. First of all, we need our jaw to be strong. I'll come back to that in a second. But when we chew, we're creating enzymes in our body, in our mouth, that help break foods down. We need those. Part of why we're sick is we're not creating enough enzymes. We're drinking stuff way too often for our nutrition. We're missing this whole piece. So smoothies, they're okay, but you have to understand that you're breaking the fiber down, so it's not doing the job it should as much as it should. And you're not getting the enzymes that are helping you deal with the sugars that you just ate because you didn't chew. Okay. So the secondary of that I was going to talk about is, I was listening to a doctor that they imagine that in the next 50 to 100 years, our profile is going to change. Like my jaw, I have a pretty strong chin because I'm stubborn. But what they're saying is, because we're having this lack of chewing, because we're drinking everything, not only are our jaw muscles going to get too weak, but this is going to start retreating. Our chin line will start to fall back because we've lost this strength. So we're not getting enzymes, and we're weakening our jaw, and that's not good for any of us. Okay, so those are some myths, but I just want to go back to that whole thing that we started out with saturated fats. Do not believe the lie that saturated fats are bad for you. They're actually really good for you, but you've got to keep your glucose load low. You cannot go out and have lots of glucose, lots of carbohydrates, and then have high fat too and expect to be healthy. We're going to break it down like this. Insulin is anabolic. It's the one that helps you regulate your sugar, right? Insulin, sugar. Okay. So when you're eating, you're creating glucose in your system, and you're spiking your insulin. Our metabolism is built to be able to work on glucose, but it's also built to work on fat. When insulin goes down, glucagon goes up. Glucagon wants to spike your blood sugar back up because your blood sugar has gotten too low. If you're metabolically healthy, this is what will happen. And so then your glucagon starts creating things like growth hormone and ketones to get you to burn fat, to release the fat, because the fat is stored glucose. So it's spiking your blood sugar back up. And somebody said, but my blood sugar goes up to 134 when I'm fasting in the middle of the night. Yeah, because your body needs energy. So I've had monitors on, and I've done like a 10-day fast and watched my blood sugars. And my blood sugars, once we got past the first few days, would go as low as 60, and then they would start to climb, but it was a nice waveform. So they would climb up to about 120, and people would be like, oh my God, your blood sugars were 120. Well, no shit, Sherlock, my body needs energy. And then it would drop back down to about 60, and then it would start to climb back up to 120, and it was just this nice waveform. And I'm like, how is this happening? Because I was not as versed then. How is this happening when I haven't eaten in 7 days? Well, that's my body doing its magic. That's your metabolism working like it's supposed to. It's getting the sugar to you as you need energy, allowing that energy to work for you. And then when it dips back down and you need more, it does it again. But guess what? When you're eating every 2 hours, when you're eating these broken foods, when you're not regulating your sugars, your body cannot do that. Now, not only because does it become insulin resistant, it becomes resistant to glucagon. So when glucagon can't break down fat, you're going to wake up in the middle of the night with a high blood pressure and you're going to be like, I got to eat something, and you're going to eat, and then you start the cycle all over again. I know I get really excited about it, you guys, because now that I know, I can't unsee the knowledge that I've gained over the last 4 years. And it really frustrates me because nobody, and I worked in doctor's offices, I worked in infectious disease, I worked in allergy, I worked in a hormone clinic, I worked in an emergency. And you guys, nobody ever talked about this stuff. When I went to my own doctors and said, hey, this is what's happening, what's going on with me, nobody gave me answers. Why I'm here today is to give you guys answers, to open up your minds a little bit so that you can start to understand a different way as possible. Back to the oils. The oils that I'm telling you, the seed oils that other person says are okay for you, but remember they're getting paid by big food. Canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, cottonseed oil, all of those are going to have linoleic acids, and that's going to cause you to have higher amounts of inflammation and oxidation in your cells, which then does shut down your cells to insulin over time, and you become more insulin resistant. And then you start to have all these other issues because you have a body that's highly inflamed all the time from those. But linoleic acids is not the only problem with those seed oils. If you think about it, they're oftentimes they're stuff that, like, if you squeezed them, you wouldn't get a high amount of oil out of them. So they have to process them, and they drench them in bleaches, and they drench them in chemicals to, well, first they drench them in chemicals to get the oils out, and then they got to bleach it, and then it smells so bad you would not want to eat what's in those clear bottles if they didn't put perfume back in. So now you have something that's supposed to be natural and healthy for you that's been drenched in all kinds of chemicals to get the oil out, and then perfumed so that you'll even be able to smell it and cook with it and eat with it, or you wouldn't want to. And they were originally designed, most of them, to be a machine oil. That's why they have such a high flash point. That's why they can be used so much in these deep frying all day long and not break down, because they were meant for a machine, not for your body. But guess what? Marketing ploys, big food said, hey, you know what? They were created during the war, like World War II. After the war's over, the need for those machine oils went down, and they're like, well, now we have this great process, but oh yeah, it's made from food. Let's market it as a food. People are going to buy that up. They're going to buy it up. We're going to tell them it's much healthier for them than those saturated fats like olive oil or extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, butter, ghee, tallow, the animal fats. We're going to tell them that our packaged fat is better for them than those fats, and they're going to buy it up. We're going to create a panic and tell people that those natural fats are causing their heart disease. They're causing them to have cholesterol issues. Science has disproven that now, by the way. But we're going to sell them these seed oils because we need to get rid of them, and we need to make money. Now it's everywhere and everything. And so that's why I'm so happy, whatever side you lean on politically, it doesn't matter to me. What does matter is your health. So the change from a lot of these restaurants moving from seed oils to tallow because they see what's happening with the current administration, I think that's a great move. Get more and more of those seed oils out so our bodies can heal up. Okay. And then we're going to feel better. You guys, it's time. I got to go. I love you. Tanya Lee, thank you for hopping on. This will be on both my Facebook channel at Brilliant Health with Misha and my YouTube channel at Brilliant Health with Misha when we're done here. If you want to go back and listen, go back and listen. I do have plans to do some short videos on all of this. I know it gets confusing for people. Please continue to ask questions in your lives. Please continue to send me questions. I'm more than happy to help. But before I hop off, Tanya Lee, if you would type in here what the system has done for you. But you guys, all I had to do to reverse all of that, my cholesterol level, my A1C, all of that. And again, I'm having pasta and cookies tonight. I don't do it every night, but I'm going to do it tonight. Is I have 2 teas in a day that help spike up my GLP-1, help me stay satiated, help me get into that continue into that fasted state when I need to. And I have a pre-meal drink before I eat. Now, I'll probably have multiple tonight because we're going to have pasta, and then I made cookies, so we're going to have cookies later. So I'm going to take a couple of these, and guess what? It's not like Tylenol that you can only have one every 4 to 6 hours. I have them as many times a day as I want them. So Tanya Lee, on this same system, has reversed her type 2 diabetes, her high blood pressure. She's off of 4 meds. She's down 45 pounds, reduced 24/7 oxygen use that she was on for 17 nights or for 17 years. So she only has to have it at night. So this woman, love you, Tanya Lee. I'm so glad that your health is so much better. I really am. It's just amazing what this does. But she was on oxygen all day, every day, nighttime, daytime. Now she's down to just at night. Is she perfect health yet? No. But you guys remember, most of us took 30, 40 years to build these diseases in our bodies, especially if you're older like me. It's going to take a minute to reverse all that damage. Okay. You don't go total your car and expect the dealer to have it back to perfect the next day. We've totaled our bodies. Now we got to take it to the repair shop. Medications aren't repairing you. Some of these other things aren't repairing you. Eating a balanced, healthy diet, keeping your carbohydrates low, focusing on proteins and fats, and adding in the nutrients that have been stripped out with this actually is helping repair that body that's been totaled. Okay. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Send me messages if you need to ask questions. Have a good one, guys. Bye, everybody. Penny, thank you for jumping in today.